Hello and welcome to Wilnecote. I'm Sian Hartle
I'm Simon Adams.
and we're here to talk to you about Wilnecote, to answer any questions that you have and to give you the flavour of our school that you need to make your decision. We would love to have you in the building tonight. We would love there to be the open events that we really relish and really enjoy because we like showing off our school. However, in the current circumstances, it's not appropriate. And, you know, we haven't had a positive COVID case at Wilnecote, and we're really, really keen to keep it that way so that we can keep delivering the education and the catch-up that we need to for our students. I very much hope that sometime in the near future you will get the chance to be here with us. But for the purpose of tonight, if there's any questions that you have, anything that we can answer to help support you in your decision-making process, then we'll be really, really glad to hear from you. So do post your questions in the chat and we'll answer them as best we can. So we're just waiting for some questions to come up. Here we have our first one. So a really easy one to start with.
Shall I kick it off?
Go on, Mr.
Okay,
Adams.
go for the easy one. What time does our school start and finish? School officially starts at 8:30, so we ask that all students are on site by 8:25 and heading into the classrooms. At 8:30 we begin our first lesson. Some schools begin with a tutor period. We actually don't. We begin with 2 lessons. Because we just want to get the kids in and just get them going and get them learning straight away. And then we have a tutor period after our first 2 lessons. After 2 lessons and tutor period, they then have a break time. And then a lesson after break, which then moves into lunchtime. And after lunch, they basically have a final lesson of the day on the whole. There's some variations to staggered break, but that's basically how it works. So the end of the school day comes at 2:40. That is earlier than a number of schools, but within that enables us then to offer extracurricular activities for students to go home if they want to, get homework done, and actually then take part in activities they might have after school. So from our school day, in a nutshell, 8:30 until 2:40.
I think the next one's for you as well, Mr. Adams.
Okay.
Is that unfair of me? How are form groups arranged?
Okay, so traditionally in schools, basically form groups are arranged in year group. Probably for about the last 5 to 10 years, a number of schools moved to something called vertical tutoring, and that's something which this school did about 4 years ago. What vertical tutoring is it means there's a mixture of year groups in every single tutor group. So, for example, you'll get approximately 5 to 6 year 11 students, 5 to 6 year 10, then year 9, then year 8, then year 7. So ultimately, within a form group, you have a range of students from year 7 to 11. There are pros and cons of every system, advantages and disadvantages, but we feel the real advantage of having a vertical tutoring system is that when our year 7s come in, they get the opportunity to actually mix with students from every year group, and also the oldest year groups to mix with them. That enables them to look at different issues from a range of points of view, to think about how the younger students feel, for the younger students to think about how the older students feel, and also when they walk around our building, they actually know students from every year group, and generally what happens is they kind of make friends with those older year groups. Particularly some of the year 11s and 10s will take the younger year groups under their wing. So when they're walking around the building, there's people they know, and actually it just establishes relationships and actually increases the acceptance and the way that all students care for each other. So we think it's a real strength of the school.
The next one is asking about how we take into consideration how we form those tutor groups. There's all sorts of magic that goes into forming tutor groups. We do listen to what primary schools have to say. We do think about where siblings are in houses and they'd like to be in those houses too. But fundamentally, we put them together with every little bit of piece of data that we have and our own intuition and our own understanding of where they would fit best. So we don't really take into account friendship groups necessarily, but there may be, those friendship groups may be in houses rather than individual form groups. And what that enables us to do really is to make sure that everybody is mixed with people that they know and don't know, and the vertical tutoring enables them to make that transition really effectively.
Do you want me to
Yes.
the next one? So, next question is, what are your expectations regarding homework? I suppose the first expectation is that hopefully the children do it, which we know, when they come up to secondary school can actually be a real challenge for some of the students because, they have to get to grips with going from lesson to lesson, going from classroom to classroom, certainly in normal times. And, homework can be quite a challenge. So really the first part of their journey with us, those first kind of few weeks is really helping them to establish routines, get into good habits and actually supporting them. So certainly, if children are struggling to kind of get into those routines, we're not going to suddenly start bringing in sanctions. Actually, it's about working with them, working with families, contacting families for those children who are finding it difficult. Longer term expectations effectively are that in year 7, Key Stage 3, so year 7 to 9, students should expect 2 with a maximum of 3 subjects a night, but usually kind of 2 to 3, about 20 minutes homework, sometimes a little bit more. And then in Key Stage 4, so years 10 and 11, really again, 2 to 3 subjects a night, no more than that. And then, on average, about 30 minutes homework. With all these things, there's a little bit of variability depending on where they are in the course. Some weeks they might get a little bit more, other weeks a little bit less. Sometimes they might do some work over a number of weeks, so it might be more project-based. But ultimately, it's about, us not giving homework for homework's sake, but actually giving homework which adds value and actually which is relevant to them actually, succeeding. So it's not a case of we're just going to give them homework to keep them busy. It's got to have purpose to it. And actually also kids do need some downtime from school. So, I don't think we're not a believer in that you just give it for the sake of it. Because actually kids, if they've worked really hard in school, need to better go home, switch off, and actually, again, be involved in extra activities as well. They actually need to have a bit of a life.
So that leads us neatly into the next question, which is what after-school activities are there? What's happened, what's happened pre-COVID and what happens now? Because obviously at the moment we have got a little bit of a moratorium on after-school activities, although we're now beginning to build those back in after the success of the last 6 weeks. But in normal times there's a whole host of things that go on after school. We do have subject-based clinics, we do have homework clubs, there are special interest groups, for example art and music and drama. And I would stress here that one of the things that does make Wilnecote special is the emphasis that we place on the creative and performing arts. We see that as a really important feature of the curriculum and extracurricular. And we also have some really, really successful sporting teams. You only need to come around Wilnecote to realise that we have bested most of Staffordshire in badminton, in football, in athletics, in indoor athletics. We've got a whole load of trophies, a lot of very happy smiley faces and an awful lot of medals around necks, and that makes us really pleased. A good question. Do we have a girls' football team?
There has been. Yeah.
Currently, obviously at the moment, I'd have to say no currently, but there has been, and we have some really wonderful PE staff who not only would deliver that, but would deliver any other sports that there was an interest in.
Yeah.
So I think that would definitely, in the future, as it has been in the past, be a yes. Oh, a really good one. Okay, so this question is about English. And those of you who have looked at the Ofsted report and will see that English and literacy is one of our areas for improvement. And we have made significant strides in English. You only need to look at our outcomes over the last few years to see that there has been distinct improvement in the quality of English provision. We've had a whole range of new staff who have fitted really neatly into the team, new leadership, and English, has come forward in strides, certainly. And, I can sit here now and say to you that we're really, really pleased with what's happening in English. And I think if you were to ask our students, they would be too.
Yeah. One of the other things has been a big push on whole school literacy. So there was a literacy program that was launched within school. It was our own. It was branded for the school. Both in terms of using things like accelerated reader programs, which I think most primary schools use, and a real push on actually getting the best out of those and the correct amount of challenge in there. Recognising students for for the effort they put in, kind of really also pushing the students who basically found English and reading more accessible. And also just actually across the school, this, I suppose, campaign really to push literacy across all subjects. So all teachers we're really focusing on literacy and how to actually develop it and how to engage students in it and really improve that across every single subject. So not kind of a standalone feature, but one where actually every teacher has got that responsibility, and it's all of our jobs to raise literacy. So that has been a real feature of the school over the last year, hasn't it?
Okay. Oh, about pushing children to reach aspirations. A really good one at the current time, because those of you that have watched our video and seen our leadership team, one of the roles which Miss Ager is the person who many of you will know from transition and in other contexts, she has the role of being really about raising the aspirations of all our children. Now, it's not one person's role, don't get me wrong, it's all our jobs as parents, as teachers, as peers to each other. Our expectations constantly grow and develop, because actually we see the dizzying heights that our students can get to, and I will tell you this, we will never ever put a cap on achievements and aspirations. Whatever we can do to deliver the very best education, giving them the very best outcomes to get the very best next step in whatever their journey is, and that's the most important bit, whatever their journey is, then we will attempt to deliver it, because nobody ever wants to fall short of aspirations. It's really important that we bolster and give confidence to them in achieving those aspirations, and I think we do that really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, within a classroom situation, our job is to obviously, make the kids feel confident and, that it's okay to get things wrong, but also to put that challenge in there and get them to really strive and, to basically pull up standards. I mean, as classroom teachers, that's really what we need to do. So, in terms of leadership team, we have to, ask our teams, our different subject leaders the right questions, encourage the staff, give them the appropriate training to do that, which is absolutely what we're all about. I think what Miss Hodge was alluding to in terms of Miss Ager, over the next few years, well, she's already started putting in a piece of work to really think about the opportunities that we give to students outside of the classroom. And I'm not just talking about extracurricular, I'm talking actually about, what experiences can we give them in terms of working with people from industry, getting people from industry to come and speak to them, going and visiting colleges, university experiences, all those kind of things, which actually it opens the kids' eyes and makes them think, actually, this is something I've never thought of, but actually I might like to do. So as a school, it's a piece of work which we feel is vital to actually, as I said, just letting kids know what's out there and what they could go and do. And then once they've got that aspiration, it's done about us kind of giving them the tools to actually achieve it, and the motivation and the support, and opening those doors for them.
Okay, so a question here about a curriculum, which is really good to see. Somebody asking about the content of our art curriculum, and then asking about science. Do you get to do lots of practical work? So let me start with the art curriculum. I hope you're aware there are lots of videos on our website to give you a flavour, and some of those will be our art and DT. We have a really expert team of art and DT teachers, and you only have to look at some of the walls around it to just realise the quality of what they do. I think, as I say, and I do repeat, we have a deep commitment to the arts. That's not to say that we, the emphasis isn't elsewhere as well, but we do have in these, as the curriculum time gets compressed, we do have that commitment to the arts, and our art curriculum is very broad and balanced and gives lots of opportunities to do 3D work, to do drawing, painting, mixed media, pottery. So yeah, brilliant, wonderful. I could spend all day there if I had my choice. Yeah. And then your secondary question was about science. Currently, as it is at the moment, practical work has been slightly curtailed by access to rooms and what we're able to do currently. But back in the day, and looking forward into the future when you'll hopefully be here, we do a lot of science practicals. The science staff, again, very committed, very expert bunch of people who make the use of all the opportunities for learning, practical and theory. But yes, you can be assured that they will let you loose in a science lab, but obviously in a very controlled way.
Okay.
Oh, very good. That's a good one.
Okay, so this question's about, I really appreciate, the question, and, basically saying that you're pleased about how we're talking about all the fantastic students, and they are fantastic students. That's what we get up to work for every day. But then also, how do we support students who struggle? So, there's a number of angles we could talk about. At the end of the day, growing up and being a teenager can be a struggle at times for all sorts of reasons. So I'm going to start actually not talking about curriculum, but I'm going to start talking about actually emotional support and pastoral support. So we have a really strong pastoral team. It is one of the strengths of the school. I'm passionate about it. We all are, but I'm passionate about it because it's one of the things which I oversee, and it's something which is growing. So I think one of the things I would say is the amount of care that is in place for students through the pastoral system we have. Is something which helps the students thrive, because any student at any time can face a challenge in their life, and it could be something which is at school, it could be something at home, and there are people who are trained to work with those students and to help them get through difficult issues, to help build their resilience, to give them coping strategies, and that in turn enables them to actually be successful in the classroom. So in terms of struggling, that's one area. The other is students who maybe struggle in curriculum areas and have specific needs. So again, as teachers, at any time a student can struggle, irrespective of their ability, and it's our job to really monitor that, and then to put the support in place when we feel it's needed, and also to actually work with parents and students. And so as parents, if you have concerns, for you to feel that you can contact us, and actually it's going to be someone at the end of a telephone or an email who'll pick that up and we'll work with you. In terms of students who have additional needs, we have an SEN department which is going from strength to strength. There's some new leadership in there to support a relatively new Senko in school. Ultimately, one of the first jobs was to look at our provision from top to bottom, and that is currently happening, and already we feel it is massively moving forwards. I think certainly the emails and the conversations we're having with parents, they really feel that that it's a department that's going from strength to strength. So we may touch on this a little bit in another question, but firstly, the transition links that we have of our primary schools is absolutely vital. Making sure that we have the right information, the transition process that we have, we're meeting with students and parents and our primary schools. So actually, as the Year 6 come up, they have faith in the information that we have is key. And then it's about the support that we put in place. And there's a whole range of it. I could go on for ages. If you go onto our website, there's an area specifically about curriculum support and SEN support. We have a really strong team of TAs. We have a range of interventions, be it for students with dyslexia, to learning needs, to emotional needs, I could go on, yeah. There's an awful lot. So ultimately, as I said, it's about us identifying the needs, working with students, putting the right provision in place. But aside from that, also it's about making sure that our teachers have the training that they need, because ultimately, they are the ones who are going to be with your children most of the time, and it's making sure that they understand actually how to deliver a curriculum and deliver lessons that enable all of those students in front of them to achieve.
And I'm just going to concur with and listening to the passion that Mr. Adams has for the support for students who need it, whether that's pastoral or SEND. Pastoral provision here is one of the key strengths of the school, and that was recognised by Ofsted. And I think that what that means is that we are a truly inclusive school, and that's very, very important for our vision for education and for the doing the best that we can for every child, whether they thrive or sometimes whether they go through wobbles, it doesn't matter. We will do our best for every child. So the next one on here is about behaviour and how we deal with any issues with behaviour in class. We have a truly robust and very transparent system here, which is based on consequences. Students are informed about it, prospective parents are informed about it, the teachers are trained in it. It imbues every single bit of what we do, because the transparency of the system means that it is, that everybody can work within it, and it supports students to make the right choices at the right time. Now I'm going to hand over to Mr. Adams here because he knows this inside out, but I think what you need to know as parents is it's a consistent, transparent system that that actually really encourages students to do the right thing all the time and to be rewarded for it as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go back to I'll go back to when I was in school, which was some years ago. But there's one teacher I particularly remember. We all have those teachers we remember. Sometimes for the right reason, sometimes maybe not. I'm going to go for the one which probably I remember for the wrong reason. Who was that teacher who, if you looked around at the wrong time, scratched your head at the wrong time almost, you'd be in detention for it. And that feeling of actually how unjust potentially it could be. Really, the system that we have in place is absolutely to avoid that. And as Ms. Hart said, it's actually to empower the students. It's about to get them to make the right choices. So if I can kind of put it in a nutshell, ultimately the students have a system where they have a certain number of warnings and they know and they can visually see as they're progressing up those warnings. So they get to a point where actually they go, do you know what? Actually, I've been asked enough, because there has to be a cut-off point, doesn't there? There's only so many times we can ask our kids to do something and actually expect them to do it at some stage. And so it's a very transparent, it's a very visual, it's a very verbal, it's very clear system. And actually, if a child gets to a certain point, they know, actually, if I continue to be disruptive, behave in a way that's not appropriate, ultimately at that point, I will receive a sanction. And at a basic level, that sanction is they're asked to leave the classroom, they go to another room to do some work. So actually, the teacher can keep on teaching, and the rest of the students who are in that classroom can actually continue learning, because actually that's what we want. And following that, a sanction we put in place, which is normally detention. Now, obviously, there are various levels within the system, but in a nutshell, that's what it is. So it's equipping those students to make the right choice. It's giving them the opportunity to make the right choice, but also that they know that there is a time where actually we go, do you know what? Actually, you've been spoken to enough times. You're causing that much, too much disruption. You're stopping the teacher from teaching, and you're stopping the rest of the students who are actually sat in there who want to learn. And then from that point, actually, it's about them learning and thinking about the choices they make. If they need additional support, we'll put that support in place to work with that student. But actually, hopefully, then when they go back into the classroom the next time, they make the right choice. But we think it's fair and it's transparent.
It's very transparent.
And so, again, it was something that when Ofsted last came round, and when we have visits from outside agencies, the feeling within the school as people move around is actually the behaviour is a real strength of the school in terms of the focus that is in lessons and in terms of how it's dealt with.
Here. So this one's I'm going to have to use my memory on this one, because this one's about school trips and visits. So it feels like a long time ago that we last had trips and visits, and obviously I'm going to be talking about what we've had in the past and what we will have in the future. So if I can just run you through the curriculum areas, if you like. We know that there are theatre trips, there's concert trips, there's drama residentials. We go to Paris and Euro Disney with modern foreign languages. There is the longest running, I'm very proud of this, the longest running exchange trip to Germany, which has been going for well over 30 years, which is a tribute to the relationships that have been built by it. We've also got a ski trip that goes every other year. That's a relatively new one. We actually only managed it once. The next one is I think due again, and we'll see whether that will happen. Geography go to Cardiff Mill Valley, they go to urban centres. History have organised a London trip this time, which sadly didn't happen because of the lockdown, but nevertheless it was there and planned. RE go to Beth Shalom. Oh, the Holocaust Memorial. So you name it. We encourage our faculty leaders and our heads of department to be as ambitious as they can be with the trips and visits, because as we were talking about, education is a much broader thing than a classroom, and we believe in education, and therefore any chance we get to take children outside of Wilnecote, we will take it. Got next.
Okay, so next, hang on, is it?
That one, yeah.
What is your bullying policy? Okay, I'm not going to recite it for you. Our bullying policy is ultimately, as it should be in any school, we don't tolerate bullying. It can be a complex issue. And, as I mentioned earlier, children growing up is not always straightforward. Relationships are complex. Children make mistakes along the way. Ultimately, we have to have a system where, we don't have a black and white. If you do X, then this is the sanction. Because actually, in every issue that arises, there are often shades of grey. And often it's actually about education, and it's about talking to students. It's about understanding what the issues are. Sometimes it's misunderstandings. Sometimes it can just be someone not being very nice to each other, because unfortunately that's part of life. And once we've actually looked and listened and investigated and talked to students and talked to parents and gathered information, it's then about making the right decision for that particular issue. So there's not a one-size-fits-all solution, because life is not like that. But what I can assure you is, when bullying does occur, and there's no way I'm going to sit here and say that no bullying takes place in this school. I think any school or any teacher who says that actually isn't telling the truth, because as I said, human nature unfortunately encourages it to a certain degree. From a school perspective, we just have to work with the students. We have to build strong relationships with them, so they feel that there's always an adult they can talk to if they have got a concern along those lines. If not, we have a strong relationship with the parents, so they can speak to you and you can contact us. And what we then have to do is build trust with you, so that you feel that we will take it seriously and that we'll investigate it and we'll act on it. We'll include you in that conversation, and ultimately we'll have the best outcome for all parties. At the end of the day, if we have to make some tough choices, we will make them, and because we've got a duty to protect young people. But it's about, by working together usually, that we get those best outcomes. But we're not afraid to make those difficult choices if that's what we need to do.
Okay, so the next one asks if there is somewhere you can go if you feel stressed or worried. We've already talked about the quality of our pastoral team and pastoral provision, but the answer to that question is yes, because we have student services where you can go if at any point you need to talk to somebody. We have pastoral house leaders who take on that role. We do actually also have a chill out room as well, which those people who require it and feel that it's benefit to them, they can use it. But the main thing is that should you ever get worried or concerned at Wilnecote, I guarantee there will be somebody to talk to you. There will be somebody to help you. That goes without saying. So whether you need a bit of quiet time, whether you need a pep talk, whether you need just to be given a little bit more confidence to get you through the next stage of that day, we will provide it. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a question about how do you support children who suffer with dyslexia? Again, I mean, that comes back down to the SEN team. It's about the transition process. It's about us having that information. It's about working with families where we need to and having contact. So, we've got a really strong and, kind of forward-thinking SEN department. It's about us having that information and actually making sure our staff are fully trained. They have the systems in place to support your child in the classroom, because obviously, that big difference from that primary school where generally they'll have one main teacher throughout the week. The students can have 12, 13 different teachers. So it's about giving them the knowledge, giving them the skills to basically support to support the child. Again, for the SEN team to be monitoring that young person, to be working with them, to be checking that the provision is correct. If not, to be again liaising with with the teaching members of staff, and also having those conversations with you as well. So that from the young person, from the family, if there's concerns, then again it's picked up, it's addressed. We work together, and actually, if something needs to be done in a slightly different way, we adapt and we put that support in place. So I don't want to get into the absolute specifics about dyslexia, but ultimately that's how we work, and it's about a big part's about good communication between all of us and actually working as a team.
And I'd also add there as well is that the theme, if you like, for this year of 2020-21 is personalisation, individual responses to children who have not only potentially additional needs, but all our children. So actually, we would make sure that we did personalise things and make our plans individual to a child. Now the next bit, it looks like we've got a group of questions about our transition and what used to happen predominantly in the last bit of year 6 and then into year 7. And obviously, as this person's noted, currently under COVID-19 regulations, and certainly has happened with the Year 6 last year, they weren't able to visit us in the numbers that we'd normally have, although we did manage it towards the end. So it's very hard for me to say to you now definitively what our transition offer could be, because I don't think any of us necessarily know what will happen, you know, from tomorrow onwards, really. But I am really hopeful that we will be able to welcome our families as well as our students into Wilnecote at the end of this academic year. And indeed, hopefully, if things do improve remarkably and we're in a very different place, we can actually open the school up in a sort of open event for you who have not had the opportunity to come and see us. So yes, our every intention is that our lockdown, our transition programme is just as good as it was when it used to be in its fullest sense, and indeed better. But part of it we have managed even in the most difficult of times, because actually our teachers have gone out to primary schools, got that the right information to be able to make those personalised choices for our students. So we are really hopeful that we will be able to offer a full transition programme, because we realise it's really important to you to be able to sort of plan for that September start.
Shall I carry on? So and I think, as was said, our teachers will absolutely go out to the primary schools. We'll meet the teachers. We'll have those transition meetings to find out as much about the kids as possible. They'll then actually also meet the children, which I think is vital. So kind of key staff who the children will see regularly, within their school life when they get here. They will meet them within their own primary schools. That's the plan. We normally have a 2-day transition programme. So the students will spend 2 days with us once Year 6 SATs are finished. And again, that's all about acclimatising them to the school, getting to know systems, getting to meet new people, building that confidence. So actually when they leave for the summer, really any of those concerns have pretty much been answered. They've already made some new friends, and they can have a really strong summer holiday and come back feeling confident. Another question that was asked, kind of linking onto that, is just about students who have additional needs. So we do different things for students. We do additional things for students with additional needs. What will happen is the SEN department will work closely with the schools. They'll contact parents. They'll have meetings with parents. Normally, students with any SEN needs will come up separately before our 2 transition days, and things will be put in place for them to meet the TA team, for them to meet the Senko, for them to meet again some key members of staff, for them to walk the building, to get a feel for the school without that big number of students around, and to already form some relationships. So then when our whole intake arrives for those 2 transition days, actually they already kind of know where they're going. They've become acclimatised, and obviously any additional needs that that are required to help them in those transition days will absolutely be put in place. So it's about making the kids feel as positive and as comfortable as possible.
And there is additional support as well for students who may be coming, for the only person coming from their primary schools. They will have additional days meeting other students in the same situation, so that again they feel that they've made relationships before they start. Okay. Oh, how do you encourage good behaviour? Well, this is a big thing at the moment, because we are waiting for the release of our first set of VP badges, aren't we, Mr. Adams?
Yeah, absolutely are. Do you want me to talk about that?
Go on.
Okay. So as you may have seen, if you've seen some of the videos and some of the pictures in the school, we have what's called the Values of the Month, and this is all about the values that we as a school feel, and we feel the community would want their children to have, and it's what we live by. If you develop students, young people who've got strong values, then not only can they thrive in school, not only can the school be a strong community, but also when they leave school and they go on to actually live their lives, they've got those values that will equip them and actually enable them to be, happy people who actually, work well with others and actually fit into our community. So we had a system a few years back, which for various reasons we decided to stop. And in about December of last year, we launched the Values Point system. And that was really because it links into our Values of the Month. And it's about recognising, there's a real big driver of this is to recognise those students who come to school every day and just do the right thing. So there's what's called the missing middle, those kids who aren't the ones who always got their hand up, aren't maybe the ones who are sometimes the noisiest, but those kids who just walk into school, go to the classroom, get their books out, work hard, at the end of the lesson, pack away, and then they go to the next lesson. And potentially they can have an entire day like that, and they've been perfect, but they haven't necessarily stood out. They're the ones who we felt were missing. So this system is all about identifying those students and making sure that we recognise and we reward them, as well as all the students who are putting in that extra effort, as well as the students who maybe struggle a bit but actually have, broken through something which they found really difficult. So we have basically a top 20 of the month. We have a top number of students each term who get rewarded. Ultimately, students build up a set of points, so every single lesson that they go into, they can get at least 1 point just for doing the basics. And then once they hit a certain number of points, they basically receive a reward. That reward is a badge, it's a certificate, it's a letter home to family, so you actually know, so you can kind of share in the positivity. And as Miss Hartle said, we would have got that. We would have already had these if we hadn't had the lockdown. But what we're currently doing is we're just looking at last year's last year's totals, and we're going to reward the students who were kind of on track to basically hit the targets they needed to, and to really start lifting the system. So that's the main school system. Alongside that, we have postcards of praise, we have letters home. The other thing which we encourage our staff to do is just actually pick up the phone and to actually, maybe at the end of the week go, do you know what, don't worry, this isn't a bad phone call. This is actually one to say, your kid's been fab in my lesson this week, and I just wanted to let you know. So again, it's about developing those relationships with you, and that's something which we're really pushing.
Yeah, it is very much the recognition of doing the right thing and being rewarded for it. So here's another reward, in a way, dinners, school dinners. Great question. What school dinners do you provide? And, I suppose what you'd want to know is just how good they are. We are very lucky in our restaurant. We have, our restaurant is outsourced to a company called Chartwell's, but we have a really, really strong team of our catering team, who do an amazing job of creating really, really imaginative and really tasty meals, and the sorts of food that children want. Well, I have to say, the take-up of food here is fantastic, because students do really enjoy it. So in non-COVID times, we have a breakfast, which is open to students from, I think, 8 a.m. onwards. There's then a break time offer, and a lunch offer. And I have to say, it's really good. And not only that, the environment too is really welcoming, and our catering team do a fantastic job of ensuring that children are well fed and ready to learn.
Yeah,
so.
I think a real strength, and that's for a lot of things in the school, is this is a community school. I think that's one of the reasons why we work here and what we want it to be. And we have a number of people from within the community who actually work within our school. They've had kids in our school, they've been to our school, they've got relatives who come here, and so actually there's quite a number of our lunchtime team, and other staff as well who don't have kids here, but a number do have children here, have had children here, and actually the level of care that they would want their own kids to have, they give it to the rest of the students, and I think that's a massive strength.
Yeah. It's the investment they have in Wilnecote. Uniform. Okay, so I know that if you've seen our students around, I hope that you have seen just how exemplary our uniform is, because actually a lot of hard work has gone into raising the standards, raising the bar, for children to have pride in their appearance, to have pride in the badge that sits on that uniform, which means so much to us. And it's been a big driving force. You really, really have made massive inroads in uniform. And when we see our students in front of us on a daily basis, there are times when we just stand back and we think, wow, great. It's a very simple uniform. It's a very practical uniform. But it really does look great, and we do pay attention to it. So we have regular uniform checks. We do have high expectations. We do talk to parents about our high expectations around the types of shoes, around being absolutely as smart as they can be, because we think that mentally that puts them in the right place for learning, and then it supports them through the day. But yeah, our uniform, I have to say, if you stood in an assembly here and had 300 children in front of you, they look immaculate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the other thing to just to mention, a lot of schools are very much going down the branded route of everything is branded. Certainly, we know the amount that costs is considerable, and uniform anyway is something which, you know, it costs a lot of money these days. So the only branded piece we have is basically the school blazer, and our PE kit. So that enables, you know, our parents to go and shop at a range of places. Yes, there are some restrictions. There are some guidelines in terms of colours, obviously, and, you know, and styles and cuts, which, you know, we share all that information with you. It's all on our website, so, you know, please feel free to look at it. But it's about having a group of students who, as Ms. Otter said, feel proud about themselves, who represent themselves, their families and the school in a really positive light, and actually, you know, coming to school when they're here and also going home from school, they look smart and actually, you know, they reflect something really positive about the place.
So the next two questions are really good ones about our monitoring of student progress, our reporting and our monitoring of attendance. Shall I do the first bit and do you want to do the attendance bit? Would that make sense? So the first bit, the question asks about what is the monitoring system to give parents a really clear idea of the progress of their child. We are very much in partnership with parents, and we want to harness the power that you have to make the difference in the lives of your children. So we do keep you informed. Now, I'll be absolutely honest with you. This year, we are actually going to completely change our monitoring system and our assessment, recording and reporting system to give you more information, the sort of information that will begin to make a difference. And we're at the moment in a process of looking at flight paths and minimum expected grades that will make you all be able to track your child's progress against that and have the conversations not only with your child, but also with us about where they are. So I'm standing here assuring you that this year there will be more information on a virtually half-termly basis where you'll be able to make sure that you know against the data that we hold how your child is doing. There will be blips along the way. There may well be conversations that need to be had, but the fact is that you will have the information to have those conversations not only with your child but also with us, and that partnership will develop through the information that we give you. So yeah, lots and lots of new things happening this year under our new leadership team, and a big revision to our assessment, recording and reporting calendar, which I hope you'll pick up on soon.
Okay, the next question is about attendance and monitoring attendance. I think, you know, the most important thing is that when your children leave home and you go about your lives doing whatever you're doing, going to work, dropping other kids off, whatever it might be, that actually you can feel that they have got to school and they're safe. So from our point of view, it's about from the minute they walk in our door, from the moment lessons start, we ensure that registers are taken religiously and they're done correctly. We have a system in place so that if your child's not going to be in school that day, we ask you to phone in. That enables us to record basically that their absence. When registers are looked at very early in the day, you know, in that first lesson, if a child is not in a classroom and we have had no message from a parent to say that they're not going to be in school today, we immediately send out text messages, phone calls are made to actually find out where those kids are and what the reasons are. Now, obviously, it's partly because from a legal perspective, we have to know, you know, if kids aren't in school, why they're not there. But actually, the fundamental reason is we need to know if your kid has left home and they haven't got to us. So you actually know, and we can actually work together to do something about it. So, you know, there's a phrase in school that safeguarding trumps everything. And that's just about, are your kids here and are they safe? And if they're not, and we don't know the reasons why, we absolutely put that at the top of our priority to make sure we make contact with you and we can find out if there's ever been, you know, something that's gone wrong. It very, very rarely happens, but occasionally, you know, a child decides they leave home, they don't quite make it for whatever strange reason, and, you know, it's about us making sure we work together and keep your child safe.
Okay, so that was the last question. I'm going to tell you and remind you, please, to have a really good look at our website. I appreciate that you haven't had the chance to come round. I do hope you respect our decision to keep our Wilnecote family as safe as we can in the current circumstances. And as soon as we are able to welcome people across our threshold, we will do so, believe you me. We love open evening, we love showing the place off, we love having the energy around the corridors. So as soon as we are able, we will open our doors to you all. What is going to happen in a minute is that they're just going to put on the video. If you can't come round, then Barney the dog can help you find your way round, because there's a brief video that will follow this, which is our Wilnecote Junior School dog, who comes with, sort of basically has come to school to do the job for the year 6 last time, who didn't manage to get here, so he's going to take you on a tour of the school. But there's one last thing, you know, if I was asked the question, why Wilnecote, why would I send my child here, you will see in the video that we've put together all the various reasons that I could list for you now, from the quality of leadership to the expertise of our teaching staff to the care and pastoral provision we have here. But fundamentally, I want to say to you that the most deciding factor, I think, is that I love being here. We love being here. And that level of energy and love for what we do and where we do it is probably the thing that makes Wilnecote special. This Wilnecote family of ours is a very close-knit one, and the sense of community and the sense of looking out for each other as a whole team is really important to us. And so if you were asked me why pick Wilnecote, I'd say why pick anywhere else. But I'm now going to leave you, or we're going to leave you with Barney, and obviously this is ongoing dialogue. If you have any other questions or queries, then please do email us at school. If there are very specific queries that you have about certain circumstances, we can answer those, and we'll always find the right person to do so. So please keep in touch with us, and can't wait to see you when you get your place here. It'll be wonderful to see you. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Hello everybody. Today I went to see your new high school. It's great. After a long walk up the drive, I went to visit some of the classrooms. They have rooms that are different from primary school. I went into a room and it was full of art. They have rooms where you can do the most amazing science experiments. They have classrooms full of computers where you learn about programming and not watch cat videos, unlike me. There was even a swimming pool in a school. A swimming pool? Wow! I even went in the massive sports hall where you can play football or get your skills up to scratch. You can even represent the school in lots of county achievements like indoor athletics or my favourite, badminton. The music room was full of keyboards, so I just had to have a little go. Sometimes you just gotta get up to get on down. There are classrooms that look like the rooms that you're used to at primary school, but they teach you all about all the different subjects. Then there is my favourite time. That's when you go to your next lesson. But apparently you can't run. But they didn't tell me that till after. I'd been told that the food is really nice at this school and it's cooked fresh. So I had myself a little sneaky piece of cheese on toast. Oh, it was lovely. I recommend it. I even managed to go into the library. It's a massive room full of books. Some of them are really interesting, but not this one. Well, Year 6, I've really enjoyed my quick tour of the school. And you know what? As much as I'm going to miss you all, I think you're going to be really happy when you go to the high school. Right, now I'm off home. I'm getting very tired. It's been a busy old day. I hope that cat is not in my bed when I get home. Take care.